Hello everyone and welcome to a live stream star party. This will be starting momentarily. So we have clear skies for the first time in a very long time. As you can see, we're just getting set up. We have the roof rolled back. Right now we're taking a look at Polaris just to verify our focus. Tonight we're going to be looking at some star clusters. So if there's anything anybody would like to look at, please put it in the comment section and we'll see if we can take a look. Alrighty, well, let's see what we can find here tonight. Gonna pull up Stellarium here. Right now I have my scope, my mount set up to run in Stellarium. We're gonna take a look here. So let's zoom out a little bit. Let's go take a look at M37 first. We can verify that everything's up and running properly. So I'm just going to go here, tell it to go to the current object, and slew. Alrighty, let's pull up SharpCap again and see what we have. And there it is, that's M37. So M37 about 4,500 light years away. Zoom in a little bit on it. Also see if we can get a little bit better focus. Now I know star clusters might not be the most exciting objects to view, but we're just trying to use this to work out any kinks and bugs before we go in and deep dive into some more exciting targets. Looks like we're getting more out of focus. So let's back out a little bit. Now you'll notice it's jumping around a little bit. The mount's settling, and I also am not running any guiding at the moment. We're also zoomed in fairly, it says 100%, so I'm not sure what the exact scale is. Now nearby, we can take a look at M36 too. M36 is also roughly 4,300 light years away. Get this pulled up. There it is. Now, if you see in the top right, I still have the observatory camera lights on, the infrared light. If I was doing some astrophotography or if we were trying to look at some dimmer objects, I'd definitely turn that off. Still feel like it could be focused in a little bit better. But that's not looking too terrible. I was able to go down to the observatory today and do a little bit of work. which was nice. I haven't been able to access it in over a month. I'm using a Stellar View 102mm SVX, and right now the capturing camera is an ASI 1600 MC Pro. During the summer, you should definitely take a look at M13, the Hercules cluster. It's probably one of the most impressive star clusters in the night sky, at least in the northern hemisphere. So let's keep moving down the line. We can take a look at the starfish cluster. It's M38. There's a lot of clusters in this region of the sky. Can zoom out a little bit. A little too much. So scope slowing over, not too far. And there it is, starfish cluster. Now eventually, hopefully this summer, I'll complete my Messier marathon. I'm going to be trying to capture all the Messier objects. I'd recommend you try it too. So Messier 38 is about 3,400 light years away. We could try to look at the comet, but I'm not sure. I tried looking at it maybe 2 weeks ago and trying to capture it, but I wasn't able to successfully capture it. Maybe we'll try taking a peek at it later. Another popular cluster is the Beehive cluster, M44. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to back this out a little bit. Definitely a more open cluster, encompassing this area here. So this cluster is a lot closer to Earth than all the previous clusters we looked at. This cluster is 610 light years away. When Galileo first discovered this, he was able to resolve 40 stars back in 1609. In 1769, Charles Messier added it to his Messier catalog. So let's break out of the Messier catalog and let's go to a double cluster. I'm going to go to NGC 884. And then we'll visit the neighboring cluster, NGC 869, excuse me. So here's the two clusters. Now, as you can see, this purple haze, that is from the infrared on my camera. If you look at the top right, it's pointing almost directly at it. So let's go ahead and shut that off temporarily. We'll see if that'll give us a little bit better image. There you go, much better. So NGC 884 is located 7,600 light years away. It's in the constellation Perseus. It's estimated that this cluster is about 14 million years old. And these two clusters, the actual distance is estimated to be only a couple hundred light years away. It's one thing to keep in mind. Just because in our apparent night sky, something looks close to each other, one object can be in front and one can be way further off in the distance, but still appear next to each other. So while we're in this area here, we can take a look at the 869 cluster. Fix this. And once again, we won't have to slew too far. We're still in the same region of the sky. Maybe. Actually, that is part of that cluster. So it is, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. That's the two clusters we're looking at. 869 and 86. Okay. Now let's try something a little bit more exciting than a cluster. Let's check out the Orion Nebula. M42. We might even be able to get some color with this camera. It's going to take a little bit here. Oh, we can already see some color. That didn't take long at all. This is only a 2.5 second exposure. We'll let it settle down a little bit here. We'll go up to 10-second exposure. You can see even at 2.5 seconds, the very center of the core of the Orion Nebula is already blown out. Still trying to figure out what part of my optics has something in the way that I'm getting diffraction spikes on my refractor. Haven't been able to pinpoint that. Anybody have any ideas why I might be getting those? When I was down at the observatory today, I checked the objective lens, and the front objective lens was clean. I haven't pulled off the camera to check the sensor on it yet. It's very possible that there might be something there, but I find it difficult since it does affect almost the entire star field. Let's see if we can pull out a little bit more detail. Let's go up to 20 seconds. And it's looking pretty good, other than those diffraction spikes. I'm actually going to take a snapshot. Quick capture. Oh, I definitely don't want 1,000 frames. One will do. And just for ease of checking this out later, I'm going to switch this around to say it was a TIFF file. It's still capturing as a TIFF for me. Oh, there it is. TIFF. Perfect. I'll flip this back to fits before I forget. Let's play with the focus a little bit, because I'm curious if it could be focus related. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in here. We're going to focus in on these stars here. I'm going to drop this down to a much more manageable, try 2 seconds. I'm going to turn the gain up a little bit. It's going to get noisier, but that's okay because we're just trying to get it to focus. I haven't played with the automatic focusing with SharpCap Pro. Typically, whenever I do imaging, I'm using Sequence Generator Pro, but for things like this, SharpCap's much more convenient. I'm thinking that I may possibly purchase a license for it, because it seems like it would be very useful. So I'm not sure what we have going on here now. We have some very interesting streaks. Let me back this out. Also curious, is it possible that Orion shouldn't be setting below the wall yet? But I am curious. And that's exactly what it is. That would explain this. Now I am still getting some diffraction spikes every once in a while on bright stars. But as you're watching it go away right now, that is because slowly it's tracking into the roof. So just for curiosity's sake, let's go to, should have enough time to check this out and see if we get a diffraction spike on that. Betelgeuse is a nice bright star, beautiful orange in color. Let it settle. Okay, so there is a diffraction spike, but we are very overexposed. I'd almost always expect something like that to have some type of anomaly. So let me turn this gain back down to something more reasonable. I'm just going to drop this down to a 1 second exposure. So let's rack this out 500 steps. See what it does. Okay, so that's definitely not the right answer. Go back in. Let's go back in again. 100 steps. Okay. So, well, that's 500 steps. I thought that was 100. Okay. So let's go in 10 at a time. Well, we'll go in 100 at a time. Let's take a look just to make sure we don't have... This is starting to look a little hazy as well. Zoom out. Could be because it's already starting to hit the roof. Maybe we should locate a better star to try to do this on. Something that we know is not going to be interfering with the roof. Could do it on Cirrus, but I know that's going to be really bright. I can almost guarantee some type of spikes coming off of it. Alrighty, so let's see here. We're going to look at these small stars here, because they're going to be the ones that are going to give us the telltale sign. There we go. Let's try it again. Okay. So now we know we're out of focus. So we're going to go in, we're going to drop that step size, and I'm also going to zoom in a little bit more. And let's flip this around, because we're no longer looking at that. Let's see if we can get this in a little bit better. It's not looking like it, but it's still... all this artifacting around it from the remote connection is also making it very difficult to focus manually. I'm not quite sure what's going on because it was working properly not that long ago. Let me try taking this down. Bring it back up. Okay. So clearly we are out of focus here. I think we're going the wrong way now too. It's almost as if 10 steps is taking up a lot of the backlash and 100 steps is actually moving more, but I think we're getting a little bit better here. Let's zoom out and take a look. So we still have those spikes, but we are definitely overexposed for Betelgeuse. Change the exposure a little bit more. Now that we know that we got our focus pretty good, let's do one last object here. I think we might be able to get it both objects pulled in. Let's take a look at M81 and M82. I also want to check just to make sure we don't have any cloud cover coming in. So let's take a peek at the all sky camera. And other than an airplane, we're looking pretty good. So let's go back up here and let's look at M81 and M82. See if we can pull in two galaxies. I remember when I first photographed M81 and M82, it was actually near the end of my experience using a SLR camera on a Newtonian reflector. Haven't had a chance to go back since. I was ecstatic the first time I ever seen it. It just amazed me that I could get two galaxies, something so big, in the same field of view. So let's see what it looks like here. And let me pull that back up. Hopefully this is pulling back in for us. Let me see. Because my remote desktop just decided it wanted to crash on me. Well, we might not be able to look at M81 and M82. So it's letting me log back in. So it looks like Stellarium has crashed. I'm not sure. It looks like the scope also decided to do its own thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to tell it to go home. And if it goes home, then we're going to go, we'll try one more time. We'll reboot up Stellarium. Alright, so it looks like the scope is successfully parking. So let's try opening up Stellarium one more time. And we'll give M81 and M82 another whirl. I may start running Stellarium locally on the machine that I'm using now. And since I have the Losmondi G11 hooked up via Ethernet, I should be able to control it from this computer. And that'll take a lot of strain off of the imaging computer because it is not very powerful at all. So let me get the scope reconnected. Go ahead and connect. And we're going to window this just for now. I'm going to have to unpark the scope. And now let's see if we can get M81 and M82 in. And it looks like it's going in the right direction this time. Instead of down below the wall and wherever it decided it wanted to go. One key feature when building this observatory was making sure that I can close the roof no matter what location the scope's pointing at in the sky. Just in case there's some type of major equipment failure, I can still close the roof. I haven't measured the distance between the roof and the front of the dew shield on the scope, but it's at least 6 or 7 inches of clearance. So let's see what sharp cap's pulling in. Whole lot of nothing right now. So we're going to bump this gain up to 300. And we're going to, let's do a 5-second exposure, just a preliminary exposure. And we'll adjust accordingly. And it's doing 5 milliseconds. Let's try this again. Okay. Well, that's a 1 second. You can already see the 2 galaxies coming through. Let's go ahead and kick the infrared light off. Oh, and we actually have a 3rd galaxy down here in this field of view. That is, I forget, NGC. I forget, let me look that up. I forget which one is by those. That is going to be NGC 3077. So let's see if we can get a little bit more detail. Let's bump this up to 10 seconds. This is the first time I've ever slewed over and took a look at these 2 targets with this setup. I'm thinking I may have to try to photograph them. Be nice if I had a little bit more focal length, so I had a narrower field of view. But I think I could frame it so where I could get all 3 of these fairly nicely. Now, even through the remote connection, I can start to see some of the arms coming through. The remote connection does make it a little difficult because there's a lot of artifacting sometimes on the screen. You don't get the true colors, so you really have to just watch the histogram whenever you're setting things up to do astrophotography, like an actual session. Now, thankfully, colors don't really matter that much because of Sequence Generator Pro, whenever it gives its previews, it's all monochrome. But I can definitely see some coloration. I know if I push this too far, we're gonna, without stacking, we're gonna get a lot of noise and a lot of light pollution, especially since I have the gain turned way up. Typically when I'm imaging, I image at Unity gain, and I am well over that at 300 for this camera. So there's gonna be a lot of noise. But the fact that in a 15-second exposure, we can start to see some of the outer regions of it. And we can see some of the dust lanes. That's pretty impressive. Being that this target's visible all the time, it's not going to be high on my priority list, but it's definitely one that I'm excited about. Galaxy season's coming up real soon, and I haven't decided if I want to put my Newtonian reflector back on the mount. A couple problems with it. First being I'll have to upgrade my focuser. It doesn't have a great focuser. It's just a single speed Crayford focuser. So I definitely have to do that as well as get another autofocuser. Should definitely be able to hold the weight of the ASI, considering I had a full-fledged SLR on it before. But I haven't decided. I may do that, or I might go a different route. Maybe there'll be a new scope in my future, but who knows. But this is actually really exciting. This looks really promising. With the focal length, I believe native focal length 768, and then with the reducer, I think it's around 5 something. It's a nice field of view for wider targets. I have dabbled around the idea of getting a 60mm and putting another ASI camera on it and starting to use off-axis guiding, but I'm not sure if I want to venture down that road. Especially with Galaxy season coming up, my whole priorities are going to shift. But this is looking pretty good. Just for a quick peek. Go back to auto and we'll get all 3 galaxies in there at once. I almost want to give it a couple stacks just to start getting rid of some of this noise just in SharpCap and see what it'll do. Let's push it a little bit further, but I think it's going to start getting washed out and we're going to start actually losing detail. All right, so we bumped it up 20 seconds. We were at 15. Gain is still set at 300. I really should lower that down, maybe 250 for this. But I've never really used this camera for electronically assisted astronomy. So I'm kind of shooting in the dark, no pun intended, on what settings to use. But that actually did pull out some more. Here's the spirals. I can see them a little bit clearer. Hopefully you can see them on your screen as well. It's definitely pulling out more of the spirals. What I'm going to do, I'm going to bump this down. Let's do a 30-second exposure. Everyone can only stay on star clusters for so long. This is way more interesting to me. And technically, we're probably still looking at star clusters. Thousands of star clusters. We just don't know it. It's always nice whenever you're imaging a target and it's unexpected that you're going to get another unexpected target in the field of frame. I'm really excited that I'll be able to get this little galaxy. I'm sure once I start actually integrating some time and working on this project, I'm sure it'll still just be a little blur, but it's really promising. I believe it was whenever I did the Ring Nebula, M57. It was one of my first targets I ever imaged. Actually, it was the second target. My first target I ever successfully imaged, other than the moon, but deep sky, was the Dumbbell Nebula, M27. Oh, hey, thanks. I'm glad you can see it. Welcome to the live stream. We're just poking around, working out some bugs, trying to see how this works. But where was I? The first target was M27, other than like the moon and star trails and time lapses. So I was working on this in Photoshop and I noticed there was something off in the corner and I'm like, what is that? So ran it through AstroBin and AstroBin automatically will plate solve it for you. And I was blown away that it was just a teeny tiny, well, it was a relative to the picture, a teeny tiny galaxy. And I forget what galaxy it was, but it may still be the furthest object that I'm aware of that I've ever captured. And it just accidentally happened. So these frames are looking pretty good. It's not, for what we're trying to do here, it's not terrible with the noise. Let's bump it up to a full minute and see what happens. Definitely don't want 360 seconds. Now this might get washed out. Where the observatory is located, a lot of the light pollution is to the north. So my roof rolls from east to west. Now typically you'd want it rolling to the north. The reason I did it that way was there is some tall trees to my west, so I'm going to be losing a good bit of sky anyway. My south view is fairly good, not too much light pollution, but honestly my southeast and like east southeast are the best skies. But north to northwest has the most light pollution. Being that these targets, they'll always be visible sometime throughout the evening. This excites me. Let's see what it's about to download now. Okay, so it's definitely washed out at this point. But you can definitely really start to see some of the spiraling here. Once I try to wrap up some of the nebulas before they are gone for the winter, I think this might be my first galaxy project that I work on. Because that's looking really nice. Let's see if we can peek in a little bit more, a little closer at him. It's funny because I started this stream today and I'm like, well, let's do easy things. We're just gonna we're not gonna worry about any nebulas. We're just gonna go star clusters, maybe double stars, something nice, bright, easy to look at. And here we are looking at two galaxies, and I'm very pleased with this. So earlier we tried to look at M42, the Orion Nebula, and we were able to get about 4 frames before I started trying to figure out what was wrong with my setup. I thought maybe there was clouds running in, and no, it was just the scope was going down over the roof of the observatory. So I wasn't able to really take a peek at that. Wonder if I can, since we're now looking at some dimmer objects, let me see if we can track down the comet, but I guarantee it is just going to be a dot that we can watch move across the star field. Definitely not going to be anything too terribly exciting. But let me get the coordinates of it and see if we can find it. And of course I have this. Let me pull up the coordinates, because the coordinates I have is just the, let me see if it'll give me the declination and right ascension. Did you hear about the now X meteorite that burned up over England last night? 1 meter, estimated 1 meter meteorite, well, meteor burned up. I forget when they discovered it. It was like really recent, and then they pinpointed where it was gonna burn up at. All right, let me see. Yeah, I've never seen one like that. I've seen 2 of the green fireballs. They were bright, but not like full moon bright. Once I was driving home and just got off the interstate, and it probably lasted maybe like 4 seconds. And it was just straight from, let me see, I was traveling south. So it was from Zenith down, it was heading south, west, southeast. It was really bizarre. And then when I was on vacation, right before we went back into like the vacation house we were renting, one went right over the house. It was probably a little bit brighter, but that's the only 2 I've ever seen. And it was not, nowhere close to like full moon like this here, but those green ones are really nice. So I think I got the coordinates here. It'll either salute where we need it to go, or it's going to go somewhere it shouldn't go. And declination. I don't know. I don't think it's going to want the negative sign in here. I'm used to working with Sequence Generator Pro, putting in coordinates. 1. Yeah, I was hoping it would tell me where it was going to go, but nope, it's just going to slow to it. So let's see where it goes. That's not looking... let's see here. It's not looking very promising, I don't think. Let's jump this down to 20. Actually, with the gain being up that high, we can probably get away with 10. Yeah, I'm not seeing it here. Let me pull up where I pulled it up last time. Yeah, this looks way better, I think. Let me see. Oh, I think I may have put pan stars in, that's why. I'm curious if... wonder if this would be a shortcut if the star catalog's loaded in here. It is. That's actually a lot easier. That looks better. Because say I know this thing passed by Mars just on 3 days ago. But of course, clouds. So far, since this thing's been visible at a decent time, we've been clouded out except for one night, and I tried to capture it, but I wasn't successful. This is the second comet that I've tried to capture with my setup, and I've been unsuccessful. I have much better luck just using my SLR and lens instead of trying to use the telescope and stacking them. So let's see. Hopefully it should be in the field of view here. Give this a second to refresh. You can see, I don't know if it'll show up, you can see this camera is starting to show its age, all these hot pixels. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's a couple blue ones over here. And I'm not seeing anything. Why? There's a good chance that in the southwest, there's a good chance we're in the roof, actually. That might be why. We had this, not paying attention at the time, we had this problem with Orion earlier. I guarantee we are in the roof, so figures we spent too much time on the M81, M82, but I think that was worth it. That was definitely the highlight of the night. At least I think it was. Way better than the star clusters. I almost want to go back to it. I'm curious now. I think M101 should be above the wall. So when I built the observatory, I originally designed it so I'd have views above 30 degrees. But the last time I was playing around, I think I can go down to 20 degrees. Let's see here. I'll turn this back up to 300. And yep, it's going to take a little while because I think it has to probably had to do a meridian flip. I'll be shocked if M101 shows up. There it is. Wow. Okay. Wow. Let's go up. I forget what we used before. Was it, did we go up to 30 seconds? Let's try 20 and go from there. Technically be The fourth galaxy of the evening. I'm curious. I'm not sure the orientation, but I think this little smudge here might be another galaxy. Because I know there's one relatively close within 1 degree. So I think that might be, I think that's on the PCG or is it PGC catalog? All right, so 20 seconds, we're starting to get washed out a little bit. Still seeing some, I believe that's a diffraction spike. I don't think that's an edge on anything. I think that's a star. Let's push it a little bit further, see if we could get some of the spiral arms to come through a little bit better. All right, a couple more seconds. Maybe we'll just push this one to see how far it'll go, and then I think this might be the last object for the night. How long has this been so far? Yeah, we're at an hour. I could do this all night though. All right, let's go for broken. We'll dial back. Let's go to 60 seconds, and we'll dial this back to pull out a little bit of noise. We'll go for broke on it. I said earlier I haven't done any EAA with this setup. I take it back. I have done some moon work, and it actually comes out really nicely. I'm actually excited to do a couple live star parties on like a first quarter moon, or whenever the Terminator is on some interesting areas of the moon, so we can actually get some good detail along that Terminator line. So I take it back. I have done that. So let's see what this comes up as. Yeah, that's too washed out. But you can, once again, you can really see it. There it is there. Spiral arm, spiral arm. No, we have not tried M104 tonight. Let me see. M104. Yeah, it's below the horizon at the moment. But don't worry, with galaxy season for the Northern Hemisphere coming up faster than I anticipated, we'll definitely be taking a look at some galaxies. But yeah, that's M104. That is an interesting one because it's edge on. I know a lot of people don't like the edge on ones. They prefer the face on ones, like this here. But I just think it's amazing that we have the capability to capture something that far away, that faint. And there's so many talented people that can just draw out so much beautiful color. And here I am. I'm excited that a 60-second exposure, if I squint hard enough, I can see some of the spiral arms. But yeah, definitely this summer, I'm going to have to set up a list of galaxies and do this with just a star party bouncing around to the different galaxies. So even with this scope, it's coming out pretty good. I'm sure with some time and learning Sharp Cap a little bit better. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I know the camera I'm using, it's an ASI 1600. It's not really what most people would call an ideal EAA camera. It's just kind of like, I'm like, well, this is what I have, so let's play with it. I know if I'd set up the stack, it would probably bring out some detail. I'm wondering if I'd drop this down a little bit more, if we could get a little more contrast, if it might give us a little bit more contrast against a darker sky. Because that's one thing to remember. I'm not stacking these. These are just individual frames. So as they come through, they're refreshing. So let's see here. 10 seconds, it'll refresh. It should be a little bit darker, but we might lose a little bit of detail. Yeah, and actually not much difference at all. I'll bump this down to 40. I think the star of the show tonight was M81 and M82, though. That really impressed me. And also maybe the 2 frames that we were able to see M42. The telescope was still slowing over and it was mid-frame, so you get the star trails and everything, and you could already see, I think it was a 2 or 5 second exposure. It'll be on the feed here. You could already see coloration, and even with that short of an exposure, the core of something happened. Maybe we had a wind gust, because that something happened. You could, yeah, the core was already starting to get blown out. We'll let another one come through. I'm not sure what happened there. Normally wind doesn't bother the scope too much because the walls are above. There we go. Yep. I think this one actually looks better. It's more defined against the darker background, dropping down the contrast and exposure time. But I think, where are we at? I think we are wrapping up here, an hour and 15. Yeah, we're nearing an hour and 15 minutes. Want to thank everybody for stopping by. Appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed this first kind of feet first trowel into a live star party. We'll definitely be doing more of this in the future. Obviously with clouds and, you know, can't really schedule around those. It'll probably just be random. Maybe eventually try to get on a schedule where the star parties are only on a certain night. But for now, I think I'm going to try to do them whenever sky permits. I was down at the observatory today doing some work for the first time in a month or so. And I tried doing a tour. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Trying to do like a quick... See, now it's doing this again. I'm wondering if the wind's starting to pick up. But I was trying to do an under construction tour because I haven't finished construction of the observatory yet. Weather turned south at the end of October, so I wasn't able to finish it. And finally got down there, was looking around, doing some cleanup. Tried doing a tour video and just, you know, where it's at and what to expect in the upcoming, you know, videos. But unfortunately, everything was not able to be used. Yeah, absolutely. So I started up until 4 or 5 years ago. It was shortly after the 1600 MC got released. I was using a SLR camera that was probably at that time going on 8-9 years old. And if you look through my previous videos, it's the how I started astrophotography. It's where I started and where I am. And I think, no, maybe I had the ASI for 3 years now. I don't know. It's in the video. The first two pictures of M31 that I show, the first one is just a fuzzy blob. I had no idea what I was doing. And the second one, both of those were taken with a SLR camera. The first one was taken with a Nexstar SCT. The second one was with the Newtonian reflector. So you might want to check that out because you can get some really, really great photos with just an SLR camera. The workflow is very similar to using a dedicated camera. Oh, awesome. Oh, nice. I'm glad you've seen that. Good. I'm hoping to do some more videos. I want to go back to that old camera. I still have it. Matter of fact, it's sitting on my desk right here as a reminder of where I started, because I did recently get a new camera to film my videos. But I want to go back to using this camera because a lot of people have them. And I know other YouTubers have done that, you know, but I want to do my take on it, my version of it, because everybody does something a little bit differently. So look forward to that, especially hooking up to my Newtonian reflector, because there's a lot of people that have a Newtonian. They don't have, you know, a larger refractor. You know, you might just have a Dobsonian telescope. I don't have one. It's kind of on my wish list. But I know personally some people that have done photography with a Dobsonian, you know, short integration times, you know, kind of like what we're doing here. But they've produced some fantastic photos. DSLRs are just so versatile beyond being able to use them in the daytime. I mean, you can do time lapses, you can do wide angles, and you can do some really nice, some of the larger objects, depending on what lens you have. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And hopefully the clear skies will continue. I looked at our weather and this is the only clear night for the next 2 weeks, it looks like. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Greatly appreciate it. Clear skies.